Hey there, lady. My name is Molly Conley, and I'm devoted to helping women reinvent their love lives, whether that's after divorce, dating on and off the apps, or in their committed relationship. Why? Because I've been there. I'm a former college athlete who filed for divorce 3 years into marriage, swam in the online dating pool into my late 30s, and now I am married to the man of my spreadsheet dreams who I met 4 months before the world shut down. As a dating and relationship coach, I help my clients shift the focus from being obsessed with finding Mr. Right to shifting to herself as Miss Right Now. We build a foundation filled with clarity, connection, and confidence, knowing she is worth waiting for. Each week on the podcast, I'll bring you love life insights and savvy guests, where you will receive the courage to release programmed limiting beliefs. Discover patterns and behaviors restricting you from finding and attracting quality men, and ways to choose yourself first so you can build a foundation for a healthy relationship with yourself and a partner. Hey, lady, welcome to Reinventing the Arena, a podcast for ambitious, high achieving women who are ready to attract the man they desire and deserve. I'm your host, Molly Conley, a dating and relationship coach for women like yourself. In today's episode, I'm deciding to do something a little bit different. I, as a high achiever myself, typically create a outline as well as some detailed facts or resources that go along with the episode I release every single week. But I didn't do that because the last few weeks, actually, a little bit, I would say almost 2 weeks actually, I've been sick. And I decided to do something that I recommend to my clients every once in a while, which is to get outside their comfort zone. So today I'm going to be talking about how being sick as a high achiever really is a unique opportunity for you to work through things differently in your relationship. So, first and foremost, I got sick because my husband got sick. He was not feeling well on a Monday, and by Wednesday, I was feeling just about the same. You might even hear it now, like my voice is still a little bit stretched, a little still scratchy. But at the same time, I'm nowhere near as bad as I used to be with a stuffy nose, a headache, no energy. And for him, he was all done and well by the end of the week. But for me, it continued in a completely different way. So when I bring up this idea of being a high achiever and how sickness in a relationship and how this all works together and how sometimes it doesn't, and allowing us to get outside of our comfort zone, what I'm truly trying to showcase right now is that things affect you and your partner differently in relationships, whether you're in one right now or you have been in the past. Using this example of being sick is a really good way to showcase that we are affected by same things differently. And so, how it affected me not only was that I needed more sleep, that I wasn't able to work out, it also it affected what I wanted to eat and our plans for the next 2 weeks. It also impacted our communication. So, ironically, during this time, I was just on the tail end of the week and thinking I could just go back to normal. And I decided to rush through a few household chores while I was working on a Friday. And when I did that, I wasn't really paying attention. And for some odd reason, our washing machine overflowed. And I didn't realize it until the water was all the way across underneath our bed and almost touching the opposite wall, which was about 20 feet. And so I freaked out because I had no idea why this would happen. Um, and, I'm hitting all the buttons as much as possible on the washing machine. I'm trying really hard not to slip, not to fall because it's on laminate wood flooring. And, excuse me, I just was feeling so accomplished of like getting something small done. And when you're a high achiever, that feeling of accomplishment really gets the ball rolling. You start to feel so much more momentum. You're starting to feel like Yes, I achieved this. What's my next thing I can do? And so, failing hypothetically with the fact that the washing machine was overflowing, it's going to completely derail what the rest of the day was going to look like for me. I had to stop. I called the apartment complex, told them what happened. They were going to send someone over soon. I had been able to shut off the water. And I honestly had taken out as much laundry as possible and thrown it into our bathroom, into the bathtub. I decided to do something that I normally would do only to vent, which was to call my husband. And I said, I told him the whole situation, what was going on and how frustrated I was. And he basically said, I'm going to pack up my stuff and I will be home in 30 minutes. And I sat back quietly. I had two ways I could go about this. And if you're a high achiever, you probably know what the normal response would be. It would be, oh no, I have it handled. I have someone coming over. I can clean this up myself. Everything's fine. I don't need your help. That's who I used to be. No matter if I was sick, if I had like pneumonia, or if I was feeling fine, or if my day was packed full of other things, I would say I had it handled no matter how I felt physically, emotionally, mentally. It didn't matter. As a high achiever, I had it handled. But this time, I sat back and paused and I said, okay, I accepted the help. And this is something that as a high achiever, we definitely have problems with doing. It doesn't matter if you're a man or if you're a woman. This is always something like one of the first hurdles to get over in our lives, whether it's in your career, excuse me, if it's in a relationship with a sibling, a parent, a friend, it doesn't matter. Saying yes to help is the first step to then later on asking for help. So it's very important to acknowledge this as a hurdle, as a high achiever hurdle, I would say, in your relationships. But that doesn't mean it's not going to get better. That hurdle can go south. Like it can get smaller and shorter and shorter and shorter to where it completely disappears and it's no longer on the runway of an issue of communication, of any ego sort of fights or pushing or pulling for the power in the relationship. This is huge and this is a big step forward. So, by being able to say, okay, not even saying thank you, just saying okay, and allowing my husband to come home, it gave me personally, it gave me permission to relax, to allow myself to care for myself before he got home. And that meant, let's get this in the best situation as I possibly can. He's going to be here in 30 minutes. The um, gentleman from the apartment complex is going to be coming here and figuring out what the issue is. I don't have to solve this on my own. I can now go rest and lay on the couch, which is what I did. And when he got home, when Brad showed up, ironically, the maintenance man from the apartment complex had shown up 5 minutes earlier and he had started already working on the issue. Brad saved the day. He came in, we figured out the rest of the towels we would need, as well as went down to our storage unit and pulled out our shot vac. Thank goodness that he had one because then we were able to suck up all the water. But we already knew the solution together, but it gave me that moment of rest. And this is the balance of a relationship. And when we're a high achiever, like I said, we are one of those where we always want to be either in control or showing we have control or showing that we have the power, that we have the independence, that we don't need to rely on others. Yet we do, because this is a relationship. It's a balance. It's a give and take. It's a flow back and forth between two people because my strengths might not be Brad's strengths and vice versa. And that's fantastic. But if we both have strengths, it's like you're a power couple, right? Like there's two things that you're both are really good at. It shouldn't be a power struggle, it could be a power play instead. So, as a high achiever, it was really something that took me a long time to develop this sort of not necessarily asking for help, but being okay with receiving help. So, going further on with this, it allows when you're open to receiving help, it also opens up lines of communication that you didn't know might be hiding or non-existent. So when you're receiving help from a man in your life, it allows them to feel like they're giving you something, like either a gift or helping you to where they feel value, and vice versa. Because when you do the exact same, you feel like you're adding value to someone's life. So, if you are someone like myself who's not only a high achiever, but you're also a former athlete, you can think of it in a different way. Like I said, the power play of being together is also thinking of it as being someone else's teammate. I'm a person who strongly believes that teamwork makes the dream work. And even if you're in a romantic relationship with someone else, this still applies because no matter what romantic relationship, you were probably friends first. And being both to someone else is fantastic. Not saying to be a best friend because your partner shouldn't be every single thing to you because you are allowed to be different things to other people as well as they're allowed to be different things for you as too. So, when you're able to have this power play opportunity to work together as a team to solve a problem, more than likely, the lines of communication are open, they're more fluid, and you're actually able to solve the problem more efficiently and effectively. So that's what we were able to do. Yes, it was a small little problem, but if I would go back 4, 5, maybe even 6 years ago, my high achiever self would have been like, no, you stay at work. I'll have this handled. I'll cancel or reconfigure my entire schedule to get this figured out. Now, once we got that done, we still had some changes to make. I was still exhausted. So we had to completely readjust our Valentine's Day weekend plans. And one of them was running a 5K on Saturday morning. And like I said, this was a Friday. And this whole stressful situation of water being in our apartment, hoping it didn't go down to the people that lived below us, hoping that we could get laundry done throughout the week or the weekend, did put some emotional and mental stress in a sense for a very short amount of time on me. When you do that, it actually can give you physical stress because your body starts to go like get anxious and sometimes nervous, whatever all those other feelings are that you may have in a situation like that. So my body felt so stressed out for a very brief amount of time, but what it made me realize because I was in tune with my body, and if you're a former athlete, you are more in tune with your body than most people. You are going to notice, oh, I'm tired. Crap, I'm exhausted still. How am I going to wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning so that we can drive all the way downtown, find a parking spot, stay warm, and be ready for this Mardi Gras 5K? And we were just not going to be able to. There was no way in my mind that I was going to be healthy enough to run a 5K that wouldn't derail the rest of our plans for the weekend, number one, let alone make me feel good enough for the next week. So, being able to communicate how I physically was feeling and having already the open dialogue about receiving help was very helpful into then asking my partner, asking Brad, being like, hey, what are your thoughts about us not doing this Mardi Gras 5K? Because I don't physically feel well enough to exert the amount of energy, let alone, I don't know if I really would like to wake up to an alarm tomorrow morning to just go run. And we had been planning this as a fun thing to do together. We hadn't ran a 5K since October. Brad is training for a triathlon. So it was like a really good way for him maybe to get some times in, figure out where he is pacing wise. And it just was one of those where he was so appreciative for me to communicate where I was at versus being quiet, sucking it up, and telling myself with my former athlete frame of mind of suck it up, buttercup. You got this. No one gives a shit on how you feel. You can make this work. It's only 3 miles. It's not that big of a deal. You can take some NyQuil and fall asleep tomorrow. And I could have gone that direction. But if you're a former athlete, like I mentioned, and a high achiever, you already know what that's like. You've already burnt yourself out doing this previously in your life. You know what it's like then to be sick longer or have to completely change plans again because you're sick. So, being able to have the communication and the awareness, like the self awareness to be like, this isn't going to work. And having the communication with my partner allowed us to be like, okay, what can we do instead to make this better for us? So we laid low all Saturday. And then on Sunday, I felt good enough for us to go enjoy our brunch and to make some nutritious food that still felt somewhat like a cheat night or whatnot, like making some little mini pepperoni pizzas on zucchini. Yeah, I know that's totally different, but it was actually pretty good. What else did we make? Oh, I can't even remember, but it was for Super Bowl Sunday, and we stayed up, we enjoyed, it wasn't even a late Super Bowl, it started super early for us. What was it? 5:30 Central Time, and so we enjoyed Super Bowl Sunday, we, had a nice relaxing Sunday, enjoyed the brunch, and then started our week again. Ironically enough, that was not enough rest for me, and I started going back into that high achiever and former athlete frame of mind of, "Oh, well, I'm gonna suck it up and work out this week," when I just really needed the rest. And if you are one of those high achievers that also has a kind of like, and I feel like most women have this, you have like an endless to-do list in your head, right? If you don't get it down at the end of the day at work on a piece of paper, it's just going to stay in your head and it's going to ruminate. It's going to be one of those moments where you're laying in bed trying to fall asleep. Maybe it's 10 o'clock and you're almost passed out. And next thing you know, you're like, oh, I got to go do this. And you instantly wake up and you either write it down or you just let it continuously stay in your mind and you constantly think about it. I had one of those nights last week because I was so sick. Things were just building up and I couldn't fall asleep until 1 o'clock in the morning. And I did everything I possibly could. And I realized Brad had taken the last of the nighttime cold medicine. And so I did something I was like, "Ah, this is gonna be so tough, but we can see what happens." And I took one of the daytime ones just because I personally get drowsy still from the daytime. Took one, was able to fall asleep. The alarm goes off at 4:45 and Brad's like, "Let's go work out." And I roll over and I'm like, "No, I am not getting up. I am laying in bed. I'm gonna go to sleep. You wake me up when you get back at 7." And so, I couldn't believe it. Like he's just used to it now of me communicating, "No, I need something for myself." Like I know that we both have our own goals and this and that, but like right now, what's more important is sleep. So it was wonderful because we were able to communicate that in a very short amount of time and I was able to go back to bed. But once again, this is that self-awareness of what does my past self used to do and all the repercussions that that used to be like, right? How did my high achiever get in my way? How did my former athlete frame of mind get in the way? And sometimes what we don't notice is that those things get in the way of our romantic relationships and the communication and taking care of ourselves. So, what I'm trying to hint at with this is going back and reflecting on the things that maybe derailed us in our past, that even maybe was just a little bit, and seeing how that also affects our relationships is a huge clue about what we can work on in the future. If it wasn't for a few things in my past, I wouldn't realize how my high achiever self and my former athlete frame of mind got in the way of really having open communication, restructuring plans, and even having the option to receive help in previous relationships, in previous work functions, previous work projects, anything like that. So, today I recommend if you are having issues with your communication, if you are a high achiever, if you are a former athlete, Look at areas of your life where you're not asking for help, but you know you need it. Look and see what areas of this where needing help, what am I willing to ask help for with this project? Or what am I willing to give up so that I can have more peace, more self assurance, more relaxation, so that you can not only give value to someone else, but to also replenish value within yourself. Because, like I said, when you are in a relationship with someone, whether you are now or you're going to be in the future or you have been in the past and you're still single, looking at how all of the value transfer back and forth through being a high achiever and how it affects your health, how it affects your communication is extremely important. So, now that I am feeling better, I really wanted to go ahead and share this with you, this little learning lesson. And if you guys have any questions, you can always reach out to me on Instagram, send me a message. And if this episode really spoke to you about how you need to possibly work on your communication with your partner or how you want to communicate in the future in your relationships, maybe even with communicating in dating if you're looking for a partner, please reach out to me. I have 2 one-on-one coaching spots opening up for March. They are 3-month commitments. So message me and we can chat and see if it's a good fit for you. I also have 2 spots left for my February coaching that I'm doing this month where it's a 90-minute strategy session. So with the strategy session, you can work on any little thing that you want to just, tackle right away. Something that you might be seeing is like a reoccurring theme for you, or you're having issues online dating and you just want to see what your blind spots are right now. Go ahead, click the link in the show notes. There's more information about the 90-minute coaching session, and you can pay there as well as schedule your time with me. One last thing that I do want to mention is that reviews really do matter. And if you thought this episode was great, or if you've listened to a few others, you can always go to Apple Podcasts, scroll down on the entire podcast itself, not just within this episode, and click and give a star rating. You don't even have to write a review if you don't feel like it. And that's also the only way you can do it with Spotify is to scroll all the way down and click a star. You can't even really write a review. So I would love it if you would give that sort of gesture and let the algorithm gods know that there's other high achieving and successful women just like you that might be able to find and enjoy this podcast. All right, ladies, I really greatly appreciate you tuning in today. And if you have any questions, like I mentioned, reach out to me on Instagram, send me a message, and I'd love to connect. Okay, so it's no surprise, but I love sharing personal stories with you ladies, and this one includes a product. In 2021, I tried dry January for the first time, and it was tough. Fast forward to 2022, and I thought it was going to be easier, but it wasn't. I couldn't find anything, literally anything that tasted good to replace my favorite cocktail or glass of wine. So for months, I was still looking because I wanted something to replace the beverage whenever I wanted. Then Moment appeared, and I fell in love. It's a botanical water, either still or sparkling, with no artificial flavors, no caffeine, and no added sugar. Instead, they have refreshing fruit flavors, healthy botanicals, and adaptogens. Some of my favorite flavors are blueberry ginger, spiced mango, and blood orange. I always keep them on hand for those nights when I like to sip a cocktail or have a glass of wine, but rather not deal with any of those side effects of alcohol. You know what I'm talking about: the headache, the dehydration, the horrible night's sleep, the hangover, and whatever else may come your way. If you're looking for an alcoholic replacement for a dry January or just because, check out Moment. Here's some fun facts: 1% of all their sales goes to mental health nonprofits, and they were on Shark Tank. If you want to give them a try, use my promo code Reinventing the Arena at checkout for 15% off. The link is in the show notes.